Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Hello, everybody. This is Harold Green of Bright Tree Financial Group, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. I hope you are having a fantastic day. It's a Saturday for me. I'm doing well. Woke up, got my coffee this morning, and just kind of started my day, just kind of wondering what I'm going to talk to you folks about. And because I was coming out of the car from the parking garage, I realized there's just so much stuff we can talk about, so many things we can talk about. But I want to be helpful. I want to be beneficial, and I want to be a blessing to you. And as I said before, this show is dedicated to people who say, they believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and they want to get ahead in life. They want to be successful. They want to make sure they do it the right way. They want to make sure they don't leave a trail of dead bodies behind them. Okay. And not literally, but, a trail of broken relationships, a trail of kids that hate them, a trail of divorce, a trail of people that say this dude, he's successful, but he's a no good piece of, what, and I've met people like that who say they love Jesus, but they were some of the worst people. I don't want to put my brothers and sisters down. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying these people do exist. They are out there. And how do you avoid becoming one of them on the way to become successful? Because Proverbs says greed takes away the life of its possessors, right? Greed will kill you. It will destroy you. Hate to start the show off on a little negative moment there, but couldn't figure out what to talk about today. So avoiding financial failure, uncontrolled spending, emotional spending. So I think we're going to settle on the urge to splurge. And because I've had, AKA seed eating. And I think seed eating is one of the worst things you can do to prevent your financial trajectory, because you're not reinvesting your seed back in the ground. You're eating it, you're wasting it. And I did a show titled Don't Eat Your Seed. So you can go back and check that show out. Don't eat your seed, because it's horrible. And, when I grew up without a lot. And we had love, we had care, we cared for each other, we loved each other. My mom worked hard, but a lot of things were missing. A lot of this financial education was missing. Back then, there was no internet where you could just Google top 10 investment picks of 2023 or 1972. No, back then, you needed a broker. You needed to have access to the stock market, and you paid for it, and you paid dearly for it. And people did that. But people who didn't have money to even invest couldn't even figure out how to get started. There was no access back then for them like there is today. So we love God. We worked hard, but you couldn't go to the grocery store and say, hey, we need some groceries. Let's fill up this grocery cart with everything we need, and let's go check out with love. No, it didn't work that way. You needed money, cold, hard cash, right? So we're going to talk about what it is that you can do to get the money, keep the money. You want to make sure you're doing it the right way. You want to make sure your motives are right. So we're going to dive into this urge to splurge here. And are you ready? 1, 2, 3, let's get it. So here's what happened to me. I think I shared with you guys a little bit about this stuff, but maybe there's some stuff I left out. I did so much stupid stuff financially. I mean, I could write probably, 3 or 4 books about it, but I'm telling you, one of the dumbest things I did is I went out, and I love loud music. I grew up as a kid. I grew up in Florida, and in Florida, everybody wanted the thump in their trunk. Everybody wanted the boom, the cars that go boom. And I would jerry rig stereos and stuff like that. I'll be out there late at night with a flashlight under my dashboard trying to hook up old stereo equipment. I scrapped together some plywood or whatever, made me some speaker boxes, bought me some 8s, some 6s or whatever I could afford, scrape that together. And every time I had a little money, I'd be down there at the stereo equipment store trying to look for some stereo equipment to make my car sound a little bit louder, because Back then, if you had to boom, the girls would look. You riding down the strip on the beach, the girls would look, right? So as a kid, I had all these like crazy fantasies, but one of the things that happened to me was it took me a long time to break out of that, like wanting to spend the money that I made, like it couldn't stay in my hands fast enough. Like every time I got money, it would be gone. Either somebody would need it, a bill would be due. It was just something always attracting the money away from me. And I think it was my mentality, and I know for sure it was my mentality because when I joined the military and I was in the Navy, I got started getting paid a little bit more. But no matter how much I made, I couldn't keep none of it. It would be gone in a hot minute. And as I look back on it and do a recollection of my thoughts and process, what was I thinking back then? Why was I thinking that way? And it's because I had a poverty mentality. I had a poor person's mentality. And Jesus said, when they started complaining to him about, hey, why didn't you guys spend this money on the poor? And why don't you do this for the poor? Why don't you do that for the poor? And Jesus said, the poor you will have with you always. People who have that mindset, you will have people in this world with that mindset forever. It's a human condition, like it's like catching a cold or something like that, right? The cold is never going to go away. No matter how many vaccines we come up with, it ain't going nowhere. It's going to be here. It'll get milder, it'll mutate. Having a poor mindset, it's the same way. It's going to be here forever. It shows up in different forms, different fashions. It'll mutate. It'll come out in different verbiages. You'll hear people say certain things, and in the future, they're just changing the vernacular of it. But the same thing is the same thing. It's a poverty mindset. It's a poor person's mindset. And I was infected by that because of how I grew up, not having, not seeing, not experiencing. And so when I first got the taste of a little money, like some real money, a few thousands of dollars or whatever, here's my mindset. Man, I'm not sure I'll ever have this much money again. So, man, let's party. Let's have some fun. Let's go out. Let's get drunk. Let's go chase some women. Let's go to the club. Let's get lit. Boom, boom, boom. All these things. This, another mindset. This is hard to get, so I'm going to enjoy it. It's the you only live once. You only live once. So you might as well enjoy it. That's a form of seed eating, right? Seed eating. Once you bury that seed into a pleasure, Proverbs says, he who loves wine and oil will never be rich. He who loves pleasure will never be rich. Pleasure seeking is a form of seed eating. If you're trying to get the money, keep the money, you're going to have to get yourself to a situation where you beat that. You beat that urge. You beat that urge. And so what I want to do is I want to go through something that I found on the internet because like everybody else, I always go to the internet and I want to find out what they're telling you. So let's go to something Bankrate came up with. And they're gonna give you 7 reasons or so how to keep your emotional spending under control, right? And a lot of the urge to splurge and I don't know what they call that, binge shopping, whatever people do, it's all triggered by a feeling. It's all triggered by an emotion. But I'm going to tell you, it's triggered by a failure to understand your destiny, to understand your purpose, to understand what you are here for. And when you understand what you're here for, life becomes a whole lot different, right? When you identify your purpose and your passion and your vision, life becomes very, very different. So the first thing they say is identify your triggers. Like is it every time somebody makes you mad, you want to go shop? It's same thing like binge eating or emotional eating or eating your feelings or whatever. You could eat your money the same way, right? You eat yourself into oblivion like I did a long time ago. You can eat your money up the same exact way based on how you feel, right? Avoid impulse buys. I mean, we're all guilty of we see it, we want it, or we want it, we see it, we buy it. No, here's the thing about that. I always tell clients, if you're planning effectively and you are planning for tomorrow, but you got to enjoy life responsibly along the way. Look, you can have a bucket of money for impulse buys. If you're planning your life correctly, impulse buys are not the problem. The problem is not identifying that you do this sometimes, and that's okay. Impulse buying is not really a problem if you plan it into your budget. Just say, look, I'm $3,000. Okay, this year's impulse budget is 3 grand, right? We're not going to spend no more than 3 grand on impulse buys. And it can't be some of this bull crap like, oh, we need it. Oh my God. Like, if you know you need it, put it in the plan. Like, if you know your refrigerator is 30 years old and you're going to need to buy a new one sometime soon, put that in the budget, put that in the plan. A lot of times we're so busy and myopic, just trying to like live our everyday life. These things catch us off guard. Like, oh my God, the refrigerator broke down. Oh my God, how can we afford to buy a new one? Right? That's because you didn't plan it. And these are all simple things that we all know, but it's a form of seed eating, right? Once you throw that money away into that thing, even if you need it or whatever, it's not coming back, right? It will never reproduce after its own kind again, because refrigerators don't reproduce after their own kind. You sow money into a refrigerator, guess what? You're going to get cold food. You're not going to get more money. You're going to get cold food. All right. So you got to start to budget these things in. One of the other things they said was to limit your exposure to digital marketing. Look, this is psychological warfare. That's what's going on right now with corporations bombarding you. You can't open up your web browser without somebody throwing something at you. And this geo tracking, geo fencing, this stuff is insane. You walk into a store, they know you were there. Guess what? Now you're starting to get ads in your Google. Hey, jeans, right? Or hey, shoes. Or hey, you go open up your news feed. Boom. They know you were somewhere now. Boom. Constantly. You can't avoid digital marketing. You cannot. Open up your computer. It's everywhere. You go in a store. It's everywhere. You're listening to the radio. It's everywhere. No matter where you go, you're going to see something. Now, especially if you do SNS, social media, you're going to see that stuff there. I see it all the time, but I have barriers set in my mind that I don't need this crap, right? This crap is not going to make my life better. Yeah, it looks cool. Yeah, it would be cool to have, but I don't need this. This is, I'm on here talking to friends. I'm not on here to look at the hottest new fashion things that these people come up with. But if you're just like everybody else, going along with the flow, you're susceptible to this. Another thing it says is to find other activities. Now, again, like I said, right, if you have a lot of time on your hands, you are very susceptible to binge eating or binge spending. You have too much time on your hands. And a lot of times it boils down to just being plain lazy and making excuses for why you can't get up and go do something, or, why you can't find something productive to do. Because again, he who loves wine and oil will never be rich. It's pleasure seeking, flipping through channels, binge watching Netflix. It's all pleasure seeking. Because sometimes we're so tired from the crap that we got to deal with every day. We want something to make us feel good. We want to pick me up. We want something that's going to brighten our day. But a lot of times, if you go through your day doing something that fulfills you, then you really don't need a pick me up, and you really don't need to binge watch it, the 10 seasons of Friends or whatever the heck you binge on, because you can't figure out your purpose. Make a budget. That was point number 5. Make a budget. And I'm like, okay, what is a budget? I don't like using the word budget. I would like to say set financial parameters, borders, whatever you want to call it. Set your financial parameters. And a lot of times people are living their life maxing out everything because the place they chose to live, basically that's what they have to do. And it behooves me, that so many people will sit there in a very, very expensive place and try to live in a very, very expensive place, and try to live like Rockefeller in a very expensive place on a super small income. And if they just move to 2 cities over or whatever it might be, they can make maybe, I don't know, 30, 40% more. It surprises me how many people who don't look at it like that. Everyone is just, like I said, they're myopic and they sit in one place and they say, like, I got this here, I got that there. I don't want to pull the kids out of school. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And it's like so many excuses. And trust me, I was guilty of that for a very long time until I finally said, you know what? I had enough. Enough is enough. I can't get to the next stage of my life with these financial parachutes attached to my back. And financial parachutes, if you have financial parachutes attached to your back, that's a form of seed eating. Okay. Because you have these things that are eating up your resources. Whereas if you just make some adjustments, maybe move to a different city, maybe move to a different state. I hear this all the time. People will sit there and they will suffer, right? Now, don't get me wrong. If you have values and you value your family and you don't want to pull your family apart from other family members, I understand that. But you can't live like Rockefeller if you make that decision. You're going to have to say, okay, sorry, we can't live in this big house and do all these crazy things and try to do everything we want to do and not save for the future. We can't do that. Okay. That is not being wise. That is not being a good steward. Set savings goals. Now, I don't like the word savings. There's something about the word savings that really just bothers me because to me, savings means sending money somewhere to sit and not do anything productive. And a lot of people don't understand how to put money to work. So they save it. They just put it aside only to spend it. So when people come in and talk to me and say, are you saving to save? Or are you saving to spend? Are you saving to save? Or are you saving to spend? Well, I was saving up this money. I was saving up this money. Well, for what? Well, I'm going to buy something with it. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. If your time frame is 5 or 6 years, you ought to be investing that money. Now, investments do carry the risk of loss. Past performance is no indicator of future results. Understand your risk tolerance, do your due diligence, make sure you get a second, third, maybe even a fourth opinion before you invest money. Don't go invest the money based on something you see on the internet. Don't go buying Tupperware or meme stocks unless you know what you're doing. You got your entry strategies, your entry points, your exit points. You got your auto trades in place. You know when to get out. You know when to get in. You know what you're doing, great. Knock yourself out. But saving to spend is the worst thing you can do. You can save to save. You can save to have a cushion. You can save to have 3 to 6 months of income in case something goes bad. But even then, it's where you put the money, and savings that's sitting there doing nothing. At least put the money in something that's going to give you more interest if it's a short-term situation versus a long-term situation. But some people save for a lot of different reasons. I don't like the word saving. I like the word plan. So you plan it into your financial situation. You put your money to work. And then when you need it for certain things, you go get it. Because if you put it in the right place, it still should be there. You put it out there to work, and then you go get it when you need it. Then you put it back to work again. Then you go get it when you need it. But saving there, just sitting it in the bank, that's dangerous. Why? Because money that's idle, it's the easiest money to get, and you justify why you spent it. Well, this came up, or somebody needed money and I needed to help them. But if you have that money at work, again, you set that barrier, you set that border, right? You set that boundary between you and that money, and it's harder to go get. And it takes time to go get that money. And if you're just going to go get that money and not think it through, and it's real fast, like it's in the bank, hey, done deal. But if it's out there being put to work and you got to go and take extra steps to get it, that kind of calms everything down. One of the last things they said is seek support. Seeking support from peers or professionals, they said, is not a sign of weakness. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. I'm going to venture out here and say this, not seeking professional help or just trying to figure things out on your own. A lot of times we are limited, right? We're not God. We are limited. And if, like I said, if you're not going to sit down, get in your Bible, study it, and pray, fast, ask the Lord to help you. If you're not going to go do any of these things, then your next best thing is to go outside and talk to some professionals. And some people don't want to talk to professionals because they think I got to pay money. Well, one of the things I do is I talk to people for free, right? I'll give you a few minutes for free because I don't want to see you fall in a ditch when I could help you prevent that situation. I hear stories about so many people making decisions that they should not make because they were myopic or they were overly optimistic and they made these bad decisions. And then you hear about it and it's like, oh, well, whatever. Because wise people learn from being instructed, but the foolish, those who don't want to take instruction, pass on and are punished with suffering. They get themselves in situations and they begin to suffer. Why? Because they were fools. They were foolish. Look up the word fool in the Bible. You'll find it lots and lots of times. We are not supposed to be foolish, but we're supposed to be wise, understanding what the will of God is. Do not be unwise. Be wise. And if you have these urges to like go out there and just spend money just because you're feeling bad this day, man, look, I love shopping. I can be a shopaholic, right? But you know what? Here's what I've done. Because of how I grew up, I know that there's some part of me that's still there that wants to overspend my budget, that wants to overspend or wants to eat my seed. Okay. I'll give you an example. So, like I said, moved the company out to Las Vegas and had my car shipped out to LA, drove out to LA, did some shopping in LA, some grocery shopping because my wife is from Japan. And LA has a lot of Japanese grocery stores because they have a lot of Japanese community, right? They have a big Japanese community, Japanese speaking community too, right? So we get out there, get off the plane, get to the airport. We get to the Pasha, whatever you call it, and out there waiting on my car. And so finally they drive my car around and stuff and get in, and then we go to Target, I think, and we buy this good sized cooler. And then we get to the Japanese grocery store, and then we buy all the frozen stuff, put it in the cooler because in Las Vegas, the Japanese stuff, the Asian stuff is just like it's not on par. So we drove back to Las Vegas, and then I had to take my car in to get it an inspection done for the smog thing to get it registered for Nevada. So I'm in the Porsche dealership, and the Porsche dealership looks like like you just walked into a 5-star hotel. They take care of this stuff out there. So the first thing that catches my eye is a slightly used Cayenne Turbo GT. Now I've been looking at this car for a while. Turbo GT, like it is the fastest Porsche SUV ever made, and it's mean. And the sticker price is mean too. It's about $200,000. So my wife says, "You're not getting that, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not getting that. I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to admire the craftsmanship. I'm going to admire the car for, just the whole thing. If you're a car nut, you understand what I'm talking about." And she's like, "Well, if you trade your car in now for this one, you're going to have to pay another $100,000 or whatever." And I said, "I understand that." I said, "But I'm not doing it." I said, "Don't get me wrong. I'm standing here looking, but it doesn't mean I'm going to write a check." Okay. Because we have other things to do with our finances. If I would have bought that car, it would have been a form of seed eating, right? That $100,000, what I actually did with that $100,000 is I took that money and I reinvested it the other day when the market was down. I went in both hands and both feet in Apple options for myself and for my clients. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but that money, okay, that money was waiting for an opportunity to pounce, right? Versus me pouncing around in a 2020, what is it? It was a 2022 Turbo GT with 4,000 miles on it, beating my chest like, look at the power of my checkbook. That would have been stupid. And so many people make those decisions because number one, they think they deserve it. Number two, they work hard. Yes, but you have to plan those things in. Now, if I would have had planned this in and it would have been part of my financial plan, that would have been okay to pull the trigger. And even then, I don't know if I would have pulled the trigger on it. I might would have said, hey, let me just delay this for a little bit more because there may be some other opportunities to grow my seed. What if I could take that $100,000 and make it $300,000, which is something I did at the beginning of the year. I took $200,000 and made it $800,000 in a month and a half, just because of the things that I do with my risk tolerance, my risk level. I can't do that for all my clients because not everybody's at that same level of risk. It's a big risk. You take big risk, there's there's big danger, but there's also big reward. But if I eat that seed or I splurge on things that are not part of the plan, again, I'm limiting my financial trajectory. So if you ever find yourself in a situation, whether it be a spur of the moment trip or whatever it might be, take a minute, right? If I'm working with you and I'm your planner, right, give me a call and say, hey, I know this is not part of the plan, but what does it mean for me if we were to do this? I had clients do that the other day. I love them for it. They said, I know this wasn't part of the plan, but we want to pay for grad school for one of our kids, right? They're doing really well. We want to help pay for grad school. They just need a little support. I know this is not what we talked about. How does it affect our overall plan if we did it? Are we still good? And boom, 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 crunch, 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 ran the numbers for them. Boom. Here's what it means. We're going to make some adjustments here. And as long as you can live with that, it's okay. And the main question was, hey, am I going to have to work 2 or 3 more years just because I made this decision? I said, no, but you are going to have to invest a little differently, right? And it's going to be a little painful because we're going to have to take some more risk in order for you to be able to meet these numbers. You may have to pay some more taxes because you want to take this money and help pay grad school. So we're going to have to sell, take profits, and pay taxes. Are you okay with that? Yes, we're fine. We really want to support our child. They're doing well. We want to just help them continue on that trend. And I said, man, look, I'm all good with that. Now I know what I need to do as the advisor, as the investment advisor. Now I know. But when clients don't come to me and tell me what's going on and they're just out there willy-nilly spending money, eventually they're going to go broke and I'm going to fire them as clients. I'm going to fire them as clients and say, sorry, you know what, no matter how hard I've tried to help you, this is not working. You're going to have to find someone else to work with or just give up altogether. Because again, you can't keep eating your seed and expecting to become successful. He who loves wine and oil will not be rich, right? And if someone gets upset with me for saying the word becoming rich, I don't know, you give me an option of say, hey, you want to be rich? You want to be poor? You want to be mediocre? Which one would you choose? Of course, I'm going to say, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I don't want to be poor and I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want to fit in and be like everybody else. I want to be able to be a blessing to my family and to the world around me, not just so I can go and buy Cayenne Turbo GTs at the drop of a hat. That's not what this is about. We have to check our motives. Now, I'm not saying that's bad or evil. I'm just saying it has to be done in its proper time and its proper place. So you have to avoid the urge to splurge if you want to get the money and keep the money. So thank you for allowing me to chat with you folks today. I really want you to have an awesome life. And if there's anything I can do, you want to get on my schedule and talk to me about a couple of things for a few minutes. If I have the time, I'll do it. Look me up. Look up my company, brightfg.com. Call my assistant, Beverly, 808-521-4401. And she'll see if she can find a slot for you in my calendar. But think your thoughts through, think your purchases through, plan them out if you possibly can, or you should. And then see to it that you are not setting yourself back and shooting yourself in the foot. So until next time, everybody, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.